let's wait and see as we are loaded in the northeast of Oxide. We have the blue Protoss player. He is Harstem.
And sporting over in the bottom left-hand side, representing Alpha X, it is AqueroN. Cheeky. Little SV on the map here. It looks like it's probably going to be a fake proxy by the looks of it, unless he goes, oh. Ooh. Where is he heading? Oh, going to go for a bit of a block here, maybe an eBay block as well, but we'll see. This could be interesting.
Kind of goes around wide. It's going to hit the probe. The probe very intelligently from Harstem. You know, he's paying attention to the things that are happening. He's probably seen a little bit of that action from yesterday. I would be shocked if he hadn't. So there's the engineering bay block. And we have 2 probes here to tase this poor SCV to death. So a little bit of expo block. He wants to get this shut down so he can take that base as soon as possible. But AqueroN displaying that SCV as early as he has. The second eBay. And
I don't hate it. I think...
don't hate it?
No, I mean, I'm gonna look at it from the mindset that Harstem really wanted to get that Nexus before core here, whereas seeing that second eBay made him put down that cyber core, I think. So it's already thrown Harstem off a little bit of what he wanted to do, but yeah, maybe if his SCV had more health and he could have built it for just a little bit longer, it could have denied a lot of mining time, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, all right. I like where your head's at with this. We have the bunker now behind that base as well. Really, you know that the SCV's there. You're thinking to yourself, yeah, I guess it's not that big of a deal. But he's going to make 2 Reapers out of his reactor barracks. And this is honestly what I was hoping to see then. I kind of wanted to get a bit more of this AqueroN just kind of doing his thing, bit out there, and just see if he can create an opportunity for himself to really knock the game off kilter. And then maybe Harstem ends up and he's like, oh my God, it's like, this is not a situation that I'm typically in, especially in a match like this. So that's where he tries to claw out some sort of advantage. I don't 100% know. The Stargate is coming in. Those Reapers are done, and it's going to build... It's going to go up to 4 Reapers, which is definitely not what I was expecting.
I'm just looking at Harstem's camera. He kind of like frowned when he saw this bunker in the back of his base. He's like, what? Like, you got a bunker there, but like no Reaper turned up yet, but then double Reaper's going to turn up, and that's a nice cancel on that CC, or at least, you know, slowing it down a bit.
World's tiniest violin plays on that when the command center is stuck at 99%. You know it won't be killed. But you also can't really do too much about it because the Reapers on their own are going to take a little bit of time to shove the Adept away. And if it gets that SCV and shades out, well, then that's when you go full tilt. But the command center's done, so the worst case scenario has been avoided. He does have this natural mineral line shut down well enough, too. The Reapers are going to jump up into the main. There's no shield battery here, so could get a probe. And it's going to be able to make it back down to that bunker again without any losses. And I'm going to say surprising amount of shield damage done to the Nexus, but I'm not sure if this is super consequential just yet. Not being able to spread the workers out across both mineral lines, I think, is the biggest advantage of this, right?
Oh, okay. Yes, that is absolutely true. I mean, it's a big commitment by AqueroN, a super commitment, actually. The main thing is the SCV died, so this bunker will eventually fall, and the shield battery overcharge makes sure of it. And look at that, a bit of a bait by Harstem there as well in the main base with the Oracle. Now, the Oracle is about the same speed as the Reapers, so if they do get away, they're away. But, 3 of them die in here. I'm not sure it was worth it, considering everything that went down, but I like the attempt by AqueroN.
I feel that. Oh, the Reaper almost getting stuck back here a little bit. Not exactly. I was going to say, if you can keep one alive to just run around the map and try to see things, good little boop, then there's definitely some value in that. But it's not like he was going to be able to use them too much further into the game, right? I mean, they really are. It's just a couple of Reapers. And the Oracles, though, come in. And he kind of knew about this for a little bit already. The eBay's only just completed. The Marines trying to catch this. One of them just barely going to be able to make it out. And Harstem immediately with that 3rd base, too. As soon as he broke that out, he's like, okay, get the mining going on that natural expansion, Twilight Council, extra gateways galore. And AqueroN, well, we're gonna have to wait to see what his next move is going to be. I would be shocked if Harstem was like, okay, I'm going to try to all in him or something like that. I think you just kind of play your game, right?
Yeah, I mean, AqueroN's going to go for like a 3 racks timing. He's like, as soon as that Stim combat shield is done, he's done some funny stuff with this, obviously going for that 4 Reaper opening. But yeah, he's going to want to do a push and deal a lot of damage to Harstem. So Harstem needs to find out exactly what unit comp it's against, be it like a ton of Marines, maybe some Marauders sprinkled in, because then, you know, the Adepts are kind of worse. But yeah, this is a scary push to deal with. And oh, no missile turret over here. That's a little unfortunate for AqueroN here, and Harstem getting a little bit damaged to him, but he knows exactly what he's up against.
Yes, he does. And even that main base turret, just a little bit off to the side, kind of playing cheeky with it to zone. But when the harass comes from within the base, not quite as easy to make those grabs and get those jumps on top of it. So he's going to start up charge. He's got +1 armor coming in. He's gonna get them chonky zealots down the line, which will of course be fantastic against the Marauders too. As it's going to be 4 Marines at a time that he's building with this, though. Even though he is getting the concussive shell, it's not that mega commitment to a ton of Marauders. He wants to have a little bit more of those minerals to spread around towards his other infrastructure and what have you.
I love that what Harstem's doing here, just trying to provoke out a stim or a bad fight for AqueroN. And this base is a little bit vulnerable, and Harstem knows he needs to fight now, but Guardian Shield would definitely help out in this engagement. But oh, nice snipe by AqueroN actually getting on top of this, but he wanted to stem closer to a big base going on, but that's a damn decent trade by AqueroN. Goes for the shield battery overcharge as well, gets an Oracle. But Harstem, honestly, all things said and done, his economy is far, far better. Look at that work account.
Yeah, 66 to 49, and charge is about to finish with that +1 that we were discussing earlier. So talk about the hardest part. It's defending against the stim bio push or just stalkers. Sure, I think that's fair to say. You're not really meant to fight head to head with the stalkers against that army this early. But the attack went without medevacs, so that's the cost for AqueroN to be able to hit him when he did, and thus he didn't really, don't really have that super sustain that you're maybe wanting with the stim. And I think if you have a couple medevacs there, obviously it's a whole different thing. But then you're cutting out something else in order to get there that fast. Interestingly enough, is he concerned about drops or just another big follow-up attack? He cranks out the Void Ray too as the follow-up here. Maybe just put that on patrol in the airspace. Yeah,
I think it's purely for medevacs, like 2 cheeky medevacs coming along. Just want to make sure all the big Gabe medevac, like he was very, very good at just sending 1 into the main base while dealing damage here, there, and everywhere. But Harstem, he's gearing up for a later stage. And I think Harstem got to spot that there was a 3rd base going up. Yep, so he's aware of exactly what AqueroN's doing. Maybe unaware of how late his starport was, because, yeah, that Void Ray was early. But, yeah, Harstem's just getting into his comfort zone here.
Comfort zone indeed. Colossus production going. Now moving into the attack upgrade, getting extended thermal lance, blink. And AqueroN, I mean, he's checking off the boxes. He's getting his Ghost Academy. But you were talking about the economy earlier. And he's not really in a position to build a big brawling army and get his tech at the same time just yet. You're kind of finishing up that saturation, get the gases on the 3rd down the line, perhaps, if you want to make that move. But with the revelation on his army, it's a little bit trivial for Harstem to figure out what he has to do. As long as he keeps his units where he's been and continues to keep tabs on where that Terran force is, he can do a lot against it. Medevac flies directly into the Void Ray, and he's going to turn around. Does not want to throw that away, or the 8 Marines inside.
That felt like Harstem kind of knew his opponent a little bit, right? That was almost too good by Harstem, but very cool by him. I do like the fact that AqueroN has done what Clem does, where he's like, you know what? No, I'm not going to power out a really fast armor and go for upgrades, because why would I do that? He's going to get ghosts out. He's going to get a lot of army. He's going to look to deal damage early on with these ghosts, I think, and 3 ghosts is a pretty damn magic number. It's just Harstem has a very solid army, man. Like, this is soon going to be 3 Colossi, though this is the timing if AqueroN is to get anything done.
Yeah, for sure. Gonna break down these rocks. Of course, we're talking about trying to make these pushes. Yeah, there's the SCV. So I guess he wants EMP on the sentries, right? If he could get a big EMP there on the force fields, would be huge. The force field still managed to come out, though, so he gets a full army stim without actually being able to initiate the fight that he is looking for. And there are still a few force fields left on those sentries. So now he's saying, okay, I'm going to load up a big drop and just try and really stretch the field, move the rest of these guys over towards the other side, perhaps. But there's a zealot right there. He sees the medevacs. He knows what's going on. He wasn't born last night.
No, and that was a lot of SCVs not mining for a long time as well, right? Like, a long time. They ran all the way to the other side, and now they're back home and doing whatever they can. Harstem's getting up to that really sick AoE here, where he has not only Colossus, but Disruptors as well from double Robo here. But yeah, AqueroN, that timing that he really wanted to hit, it's just vanished before his very eyes, Nathanius.
If there's anything that we can take away from this, at least positively speaking, he already has ghosts. So if he transitions out of Colossi, it's not like he's going to get jumped by Storm or anything like that. It's going to boil down a little bit more to the control, the macro, and the decision making, which is where, you know, as we were talking about when it comes to Harstem, tons of experience. I mean, the guy literally just analyzes random people playing. You know, that's a huge part of the content that he makes. He's seen pretty much everything, I would guess, at this point in StarCraft. So when it comes to making those choices, we should expect him to get a little bit of an edge. Good position, AqueroN trying to spread out if this army was to come through the choke point, but without liberators, without tanks, it's going to turn into a dangerous game. Getting sieged by disruptors, if he takes one bad shot, could just end it all for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting the Vikings out 4 at a time, so he's going to be able to deal with the Colossi. But yeah, the disruptors, man, and the 2-2 that's on the way for Harstem. Harstem's just taking this slow, man. He's going full spoon Protoss against AqueroN, and man, all those Vikings just got swamped there.
And all they were shooting at was the Void Ray. The Colossus took a little bit of damage, and then I think he might have just done like a regular attack command, and that's going to prioritize units that can shoot back. So the Void Ray takes most of its health out, but all the Colossi still standing very strong, and there's not really a lot of Vikings left. Disruptor shot doesn't hit too much, but there are several more in tow, and they are going to land as the decent EMP goes onto the army, but there's so much Protoss here coming around to surround this army. He doesn't have that stable backbone to fall onto, especially when you're talking about the workers that he had to pull earlier with that attack, not necessarily helping out either for building up to a late game scenario. But if if you're able to get out those liberators, if you're able to get out those advanced ballistics, then you can really deal with these robo heavy compositions. But then not much left for him on the table as Harstem is going to take game number 1.
Yeah, Harstem actually played really good this game because it wasn't an easy situation. Like, AqueroN did something a little bit cheeky again in his TVPs, which seems to be the thing that he's doing. Like, the reactor opening into the 4 Reaper, into the bunker behind, which I don't think it was truly worth it. But yeah, AqueroN, when I've spoke to him about how does he train, how does he study, and he was like, huh? I was like, do you watch VODs, or like do you look at your own replays and stuff? He's like, no, not really. And so he comes up with a lot of his own things, and maybe he does come across like a live stream here and there, but yeah, a lot of it is just him doing things, which, yeah, that's why a lot of his plays look a bit crazy. I remember having this conversation where I was like, yeah, but how about you watch this and stuff? Like, because you're obviously good, like you've got the mechanics and stuff, but yeah, just goes about things in his own way.
Yeah, he's looking for the I'm not doing something that you have a prepared response for kind of deal to try and mitigate that experience, I guess, right? It's like if you've seen a certain scenario a million times, then being able to come out of left field with something they're not expecting that's where you're really going to be able to generate that value, right? But at the same time, Harstem, I mean, he dealt with it more than well enough. He got that 3rd really fast, didn't really lose too much to the Reapers. And as you said, he did kill all of the Reapers, so there was no chance for like a backstab while his bio hit the 3rd or anything like that. And that's why Harstem's up 1-0, looking fantastic, starting off this series.
Yeah, I think one real big part of that game was the fact that the root 3 racks, it was a very late hitting 3 racks, and Harstem, he was already on 66 probes and held it. Like, he took a lot of damage, but he was on 66 probe, aka 3 full base economy with all 6 gases flowing. Like, that's insane, actually, to be able to hold that while in that kind of economic situation. But the 4 Reapers, like that's 200 gas, where that stim, the +1 isn't there, combat shields is later. It's yeah, definitely slowed things down a lot. So even though I do like the bit of cheeky builds from AqueroN, I think going with something cheeky that's either super out there or a bit more solid might be what he should go for.
Perhaps we will see what he wants to do in game number 2. In the bottom left, we have AqueroN.
And spawning over in the top right of 2K, It is Harstem. What are we gonna see this game between these two? Harstem isn't the kind of guy that, well, he used to Void Ray all in quite a bit actually, like maybe a year ago, but he's definitely cooled down on that kind of stuff. Within regards to what kind of player is Harstem in general, he's a very build order orientated player. Like if he thinks he can take shortcuts here and there, he will. So you have to keep him on his toes a lot. He's also the kind of player that can be very, very greedy. Like in the same sense as Big Gabe in a lot of ways. Like once he gets up to 3 bases, he's very, very comfortable. That's where he wants to hit and then move beyond that as a big macro Protoss. But very, very uncomfortable player to play against.
Oh yeah, no, and it's been a very weird first game, right? When we talk about the way that this started off, a kind of unusual opener, double engineering bay block, really getting in your face. But Harstem, he didn't really make mistakes once we got to that point in the game. He landed the force fields before the EMP was able to come down on his sentries, bought himself a huge amount of time, got that full army stim, and then had the Zealot in position to see when that next attempt to bring the pain to him was on the way, and he dealt with that too. So if you're Harstem, you're feeling good. It's got to be some stress now on AqueroN's part. You're not going to try to do the same thing, of course, but if he has another weird build, maybe he breaks it out. I don't know how many weird builds can a person really have in their back pocket. Then I'm not that certain. At some point, if you have 11 of them, then you probably don't have enough experience practicing any of them, even as weird as they may be.
Yeah, maybe. I just feel like AqueroN's going for a very, very safe and standard build here, though. This is this was the very normal opening for a lot of Terrans, maybe about like 9 months to a year ago, in a lot of matchups, not just this one. But Harstem, he played greedy this game, man. There was no probe scout on the other side of the map at all. He just kind of scouted outside his little base just to check for proxies, and then was like, you know what, Nexus before core immediately. So that little bit of greed that I talked about kicking in here, and AqueroN's already going to feel like, okay, what am I going to do to slow him down? Because TVP is a little similar to TVZ. The Terran needs to slow down the Protoss a little bit because that Chrono Boost whips out a lot of probes if uncontested.
Oh, yeah. No, you need to be very, very careful about that. And you're talking about the flow of the game. Harstem with that early Nexus, looking for the economic plays, the adapt. Oh, my goodness. It's like you want to try and get that probe. Not a whole lot of room to escape. Whoa, he does, though. Slips through just barely into the main, I guess, looking for some more information. Sees the Stargate, but the Reaper does die. Not able to really kill too much with it. Widow Mine being built at home. So presumably we'll go back to basics, right, for Terran versus Protoss. Maybe a cheeky mine drop. Maybe he'll feel like he needs to use the mines defensively because of the Stargate. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. He is going to build a Viking too, though. So he's playing the zoning play. He's going to respect this from Harstem quite a bit. Yeah,
unusual, actually, like the Viking. Normally you go Cyclone Viking if you're against something like Phoenix, and I mean, maybe he will gear up for like a 1-1-1 push, which is totally fine to do. Harstem does get the Oracle. Oh! Wow, Harstem. Like, yeah, that was a lovely bait with a low health SCV. I wonder if AqueroN actually planted that on purpose, but you can see Harstem's frustrated.
Yeah, that's a big grab to be able to get there, and especially when we're talking about the way that he set himself up. Not only did he build that Viking, but Benjamin, he's building a second Viking. So he is perhaps thinking maybe since he killed that Oracle, it shouldn't be too difficult for him to bring the tanks and the Vikings and the Marines for a sort of just big 2-base push with his SCVs, maybe?
Absolutely, yeah. And a lot of the time with this, you can throw down like a second and third barracks and just leave them naked, so you don't even get upgrades with them. Seeing these Vikings, these 2 Vikings, this should give Harstem the big like, oh, okay, you're doing a push on me. And I'm looking at that production tab. He starts charge immediately upon seeing that. It's not blink or anything, which I like that. You're already getting the Phoenix to deal with the air units, potential drops and stuff. So why get blink? Just stocky up your army with that charge.
Yeah, and just pile the Chrono Boosts onto that bad boy. There you go. Puts the second one on immediately. And if you get the charge, Marines without stim, not super great against charge zealots. Siege tanks, I think we know they're charge zealots are kind of the apex predator of the tanks. So it turns into a little bit of buying time. And by getting the read and the scout on those Vikings, like you were saying, as early as he did, gives him a huge window to try and get that set up. Now, of course, will he be able to build enough to overwhelm this force is the question, because, you know, 5 or 6 charged zealots are not going to do it. You're going to need a little bit more than that. I only thing that I'm slightly surprised by is I thought he would have brought more SCVs with this to Muslim, but he is thinking about a world where the game doesn't end with this attack.
He certainly is. And Harstem, he's getting a little unfortunate with these Phoenix. He is going to go for the reinforcements, which I like. He's doing a good job of pretending he's stronger than he is. Sun Tzu, Art of War, Harstem. Oh, picks up a tank over here as well. I mean, he's actually handling this whole situation really good, because this is not easy.
No, not at all. And especially if he doesn't have that zealot count, you know, those landed Vikings actually pulverize the stalkers up close and personal if he has to rely on those. So 3 bunkers are going to get dropped here. Siege tank is doing a bit of zoning work. Widow mines were zoning for the Phoenix, but the Vikings are on the ground. So there's nothing to keep these siege tanks from being held high and picked off by those Phoenix. And we see the charged zealots do what charged zealots do. They get on top of those units. They tank. The stalkers are getting the damage done. The Viking lifted back into the air. He wanted to live on the ground, but he was told that, you know, you can't, once a West Egger, always a West Egger. That's how it is.
West Egger, right?
It's a little, what's it called for you? A little Gatsby for you, Benjamin. A little Gatsby for you on this Thursday.
Why, thank you. Thank you.
You don't get to go to the other side.
Look at that supply, by the way. Like, oh, I felt like Todd for a second there. Harstem just very far ahead. I like the idea for AqueroN there, because I think it was a kind of scary push, but I think he had to go when he was going. And this, we talked about Vanya earlier, like sometimes you need to learn how to chill. Sometimes you also need to learn when your timing window is and what you, like, the do's and don'ts, because he had when he wrapped away from that third base and was like, okay, I'm gonna spend a little bit of time here and go for this base instead in between everything. That's an extra 2 or 3 like warping rounds for Harstem, just allowing him to deal with it very comfortably.
Yeah, and comfortable, I think, might be the word of the day here for Harstem now. He's got a bunch of shield batteries for that attack that he was worried about earlier, so he's already set defensively on that third. He's been able to, with his Phoenix, stay in AqueroN's face all game, and that affords him the luxury of not needing to make huge investments into putting observers all over the map or pylons on every corner. And he's still going to do a bit of that. He's going to take the watchtower. He's putting some pylons around the east side of the map. But when you have this much pressure, you see everything, and he knows, oh, third base is coming. Give that a little love tap before it lands. If he tries to come over back here, now he can head into the main base. If he tries to drop mules onto that third, it's going to be vulnerable. And yeah, I mean, AqueroN realizes he's been completely shut down, and he taps out. GG Harstem with the